And to go live. We are live, ladies and gentlemen. How's everybody today on this Super Monday? Hello to all, let's say, boys, girls, and all the ships at sea. Let's say it's Monday, the 17th of May, and I'm sorry, the 18th of May, and I'm going to play us in with a little Jeff Beck. All right, guys, I'm sure you get the point of that. There's an old song called Going Down. And if anybody or if everybody has been keeping track lately, there is absolutely no doubt where Trump is taking us. But I tell you, before we get into that, let me play this few words from Ada Briseno. Ada is a candidate for Assembly from District 67 here in Southern California. And I play this to show the lengths that the Republicans will go to stop a woman running for a state assembly in California. I mean, this is just amazing. Here she is.
So I got this in my mailbox yesterday and I thought, that's interesting. I don't remember ever sitting on a gold couch wearing a shiny gold jacket. And then I realized that they photoshopped me. This picture, and honestly, it's very flattering that they would Photoshop me hanging out in such a cool, trendy place. And who are the masterminds who came up with this message? Well, I have an answer. According to the documents that came out yesterday, it's the pollsters for the NRA, the Republican National Committee, and Devin Nunes. And that is the best they can do. Unfortunately, you're going to be seeing much more of this. Donald Trump's closest allies, corporations that have given him more than 20 million, are part of a group that has already committed to spending $3 million to defeat me, because they're afraid of a union leader and a proud immigrant who will take them on and win. Many of these same corporations are attacking me, are profiting millions of dollars off of ICE contracts. So you're probably going to see me photoshopped into a whole lot of other things this election cycle. I hope they Photoshop me somewhere fun. But please remember, these are all lies, and they are funded by Donald Trump's allies.
So, guys, does that give you an idea of how hard we need to start charging every Monday and every Tuesday and every Wednesday and every day until November 2026? And then we can get a little rest and then gear up for 2028. But first thing I want to say is, anybody want to check in, give us a call, let us know. Let us know what your gas bill was over the weekend. Number is 949-629-3820. And I don't know about you guys, but the other day I had the unique privilege of spending $100 on 3/4 of a tank of gasoline. What do you say? The good news is we can buy it. It's available. How about the guys, some of the smaller countries like, Vietnam or Sri Lanka? Those guys might not be able to, it might just not be available, period, no matter what the price. And talking about oil, we'll rail about Cuba in a little bit, but I cannot imagine how the U.S. interest is served making a nation submit to perform an act of submission. It's not just surrendering. This is like somebody surrenders and, oh, by the way, let me pee on you. That's what Trump is like. But I want to kind of start today. Actually, it's going to be a lot about Trump today. And the reason is, instead of going with today's New York Times, I looked at Sunday's New York Times. And, the headline was, and I quote, U.S. support for Taiwan now a chip, like a bargaining chip. Arms deal uncertain after talks in China. Now, what do you think that means? That means our ironclad commitment to defend Taiwan is like kind of iffy. If the president, feels like it, maybe he'll push the arms sales through. And then again, if he wants something from President Xi, which is highly likely, then he won't. I mean, is this not just the height of insanity or the depth of depravity? At any rate, this is extreme behavior. And I mean, whoever gets Taiwan gets the chip, the microchip access. The rest, I mean, it's game, set, and match with Taiwan. The best thing we can do is keep it independent. I don't think we necessarily want it as a colony. Taiwan might want it, and you might want to have some discussions. I'm not really sure how the guys at the Brookings would come down on that, but yeah, think about that. Now the Taiwanese have, I think, a $14 billion arms purchase pending on what Trump thinks about it, pending on what he wants to do, pending on how many cheeseburgers he had, pending on how many naps he took. I can go on and on. But yeah, think about that. Presidents have recognized the necessity of this, and Trump just really doesn't care. He's, if it doesn't affect him, he really doesn't care. And if you don't think that's true at the end of the broadcast, please call me and let me know, and I'll be happy to buy you an adult beverage somewhere close to me. So, okay. And now let's just, while we're on the subject, while we're still on the front page, let's see, what is this? A fund has been proposed to compensate the allies of Trump. So for his being targeted by the IRS, tax returns being released by the IRS. And the $1.7 billion slush fund. Have you noticed $1 billion? He kind of throws around like the ballroom. Well, it's $200 million when it started, but now it's up to $1 billion. Like this slush fund, $1.7 billion. Pretty soon you're talking real money here, and that it's stealing. Call it what you want. It's stealing. You were wrong. You were rightfully investigated for potentially criminal actions, and we still haven't had any. The more the evidence comes to light, the guiltier you look. Okay, and this is just nothing short of stealing $1.7 billion from every taxpayer in the country to do what? To give to your buddies who also broke the law. And this is the criminals robbing the treasury and then dividing it among themselves. I mean, how do people stand for this? Give me a call. I say 949-629-3820. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Now, I'm going to jump ahead just a second, because after the front page, I went right to the opinion section. Yeah, I didn't. If I got bogged down in everything, it wouldn't be fun for you or me. It's that singing pig theory. Remember that? Once you never try to teach a pig to sing because it's frustrating to you and it annoys the pig. That was the sum total of my 3 years in Jackson, Mississippi. So anyway, the opinion section, the Sunday New York Times now. And like I say, I'm going to say a few words about the Times real quick. They are the best. They are the most credible newspaper in the world, bar none. Well, I mean, BBC might be close. But the New York Times is the real, they are the official newspaper of the United States, whether people want to admit it or not. Their reporting is great. Their reporters are great. They fact check really well. I don't think any Trump lawsuit has gotten through against them beyond. I think the judge dismissed them all, like they will when Keystone Cash Patel gets there for saying somebody defamed him by insinuating he was drunk at a bar. I know. Someone's gonna have to explain that one to me. Next thing you know, Pistol Pete Keg said it'll be a little more litigious. Uh, you know, it's the sheer incompetence. Does anyone look at things as they are and take any comfort in knowing that we have a sharp leader at the helm, a steady hand? No, we have some orange tinge, some subhuman being occupying the White House. And the Republicans apparently taking the position that our criminals are good, your criminals are bad, or our criminals saying our criminals are patriots, but yours are criminal. Guys, people see this. People see, even. I'll tell you what convinced me that people are starting to see this. CNN wasn't MS Now. Anyway, one of those news things had interviewed a woman who had voted for Trump 3 times. And the question was, if you had to tell them anything, what would you tell them? And she says, you're a worthless piece of shit. And this is like a, 50s-year-old lady in the Midwest, just, and then the reporter says, well, how many times did you vote for him? And she says, 3 times. I said, can you believe it? I must be an idiot. This is, the confessional of the woman that voted for Trump 3 times. I think he kind of lost her. I don't think she's going to, unless she's going to stick around in the old MAGA universe much longer. And if people like her aren't sticking around the MAGA universe, you can rest assured there might be those who voted for Trump less than 3 times that, kind of saw the handwriting a little easier. But, I guess sometimes it's better you learn a lesson late than never at all. Okay, so with that in mind, let's roll on to this New York Times opinion section. And you can always tell, at least I always tell a lot by the picture on the front, because it's obviously designed to capture some emotion, very nature of a picture as opposed to just text. But anyway, this picture was downright scary. There was a picture of a bear, or an image of a bear, and the bear's kind of mean and hunched over. And you know how they have those big long claws on their feet that just rip and shred everything? Well, you know what is under those bear claws that are ripping and shredding everything? That's right, the American flag. It was a picture of being ripped apart at the seams by China. And I want to give you a little overall thought before we get into the specifics. Trump had let go all the negotiators from the State Department. So he's left with people he knows and trusts, like Witkoff, like his son-in-law Kushner. What he doesn't realize is that everyone is just way out of their league and compared to the opposition, right? If you think Witkoff and Kushner knew the intricacies of nuclear weaponry, they might have accepted an earlier deal from Iran, but they didn't know that they weren't familiar with the subject matter. And Trump let go all the experts. And he ain't gonna admit it, right? He's not gonna admit he can't solve the problem. So more than likely, he will do the same thing he's always done, is go to response. If it can't be done with force, it can't be done. And they'll just pull out a bigger hammer and a bigger hammer and a bigger hammer. And that's just not gonna solve the problem, especially in Iran. These people have been around for ages. You're kind of, and if you get really nasty, they may just take over the whole strait, just dare everybody, dare every ship. Before you went in there, at least it was open. And at the very minimum, the ships were free to transit. So that's just kind of one of the ways that Iran has won. And I can't just say Trump has lost. I have to say the U.S. has lost, because it is pretty much a zero-sum game. You know, their gain is our loss, and they are gaining. Their robot industry is so far ahead of ours. Uh, and we have a president going around lighting dumpster fires and alienating friends and neighbors. So you can understand kind of why I went with the Jeff Beck going down for a little play-in song today. Okay. So I said the bear on the flag, and the front, since it's still the front page of the opinion section, it kind of gives you a little insight as to the big stories inside. And the three biggies inside are going to be like China's soft power play. Trump summit with Xi reveals a weakened America. And then there's a second article that got highlighted. A Chinese country. I don't see it. That was Ross Douthat. And how about this? The people of the United States and China face a shared precarious future. Well, it might be a shared precarious future, but they're in the lead. And I don't know how we get by. I don't know where there's a passing lane. As long as these guys are, as long as people are intent on taking us backwards, we'll never catch up, much less pass. And let me kind of digress here just a second about the National Prayer Breakfast on Sunday in the Mall. And ordinarily I don't object to stuff like that, but it's the lie that goes with it. America was not founded as a Christian nation. I mean, I don't know what's so difficult about this. It was founded for religious freedom. These guys didn't want to worship in the Anglican Church. Henry and all that. They didn't. They were Protestant. They protested. That's where the word comes from, Protestant. And when the opportunity came to set out on this adventure, people went. And it's funny. Everybody from blue blood to somebody who might not have anything left to lose would come over. But the truth of the matter is, America has more or less worked for 250 years. I mean, we've had highs and lows, and slavery and the Emancipation Proclamation, failure to get the message out to the slaves in time, at a reasonable time. In Texas, they didn't tell the slaves they were freed for like 2 or 3 years. I mean, so we have had dark moments. The settlement of the West, our manifest destiny that we take this over. Well, did our manifest destiny include genocide against the Native Americans who were here? I hope not. And on the off chance you might have had a scintilla of proof about the Christian nation, then isn't that a little inconsistent with genocide? Just I just kind of want to know. And I say, if you got a thought, give us a call, 949-629-3820. And it's just it's just the sheer incompetence. You couldn't make this stuff up. I mean, I wish I was, but okay. So anyway, there's a little optimistic thing called what AI can't do or can't do, like Immanuel Kant. And Maureen Dowd makes the point that as good as AI gets, it'll never have empathy. It'll never be able to show emotion, and would make a really lousy psychologist, all that stuff. So she maintains that there are still human jobs to be had. You just have to think of things that cannot be programmed. And reacting emotionally, seems would be one. I wouldn't put it past these guys about getting it wired one day, but I think we're okay now. Yeah, right. Okay. And so AI. Oh, and then how about this was a really good one. I like this. An off ramp is not an exit strategy. Now in this case, this means that Trump may have a way out of Iran, but he ain't solved the problem. And not only has he not solved the original problem, he created more problems on top of it. So, and I was thinking, Trump is the guy that would set a fire in a crowded theater, yell fire so everybody would stampede out, and then charge them to get out. And then he would go back in and put the fire out and, buy the proceeds. He's just a bad guy. And that's why I would pretty much bet money that, when the tale is told, we'll find some Russian collusion in the 2016 Trump campaign and some unusual level of cooperation ever since. And the one of the ways that I feel comfortable making these statements is they conform to his past behavior. See, if Trump and his reputation for being, like a crook, he's painted as a crook already. So he has to, but let's say the crook turns honest, has a change of heart, come to Jesus, whatever it is. Now that's inconsistent with the past behavior, right? So human beings react by being skeptical and doubtful, because if you look at the evidence, if you look at the track record, he's just a scam artist. Oh, not only is he a scam artist, he's a scam artist whose net worth has tripled from like a little over $1 billion to 4 point something billion in a little over a year. How about that? Okay, so and I'm going to mention that only because the world's gotten so desensitized to having crooks around and criminals in charge that in Ireland, some Irish mob boss or mob fee or something is running for Secretary of Finance. That's what we've exported to the world, guys. Give the keys to the treasury. Astounding, isn't it? I mean, you couldn't. I always say you couldn't make this up, but geez, Louise, what do you have to say to these guys? And apparently, don't forget, everybody knows what's going on. It's just the Republicans aren't holding people accountable. And if it's our guys, it's either not criminal or they're good criminals. Kind of like a pirate. You're a good pirate. No, they're a bad pirate. Okay, let's see. So that's what AI can't do. And off-ramp is not. Oh, so let's say Trump decides to, bail out. I see the problem's still there. You might take the off-ramp, but the problem, and what's worse, the problem you created was still there. I think that pretty much qualifies you to be a worthless POS, but you know how I tend to judge. Okay. So, and they make a few points in this. Is that no off-ramp, there is no off-ramp to a pre-war status quo. I mean, we can't just undo it, right? The conflicts have changed things on the ground, and they've changed concepts. I mean, the larger Middle East knows they're not beyond being attacked by Iran. Can we go back to before that when they never attacked? I don't think you put that toothpaste back in the tube. I think that's another foreseeable consequence that I will bet you was fully explained to P-47, and that P-47 just blew it off. And you know why he blew it off? As opposed to, let me ask you this. What do you think got more attention? Him blowing off the fact that he can't just go back to the status quo, or So status quo. Oh, I mean, how does he think he can just go back in time? And like I said, things have changed, and they have to be dealt with, right? So if you turn around and run, well, you know, I think you'll be known as somebody who turned around and ran, which is, as it should be, right? He turned around and ran, and he should be known as somebody who turned around and ran. So yeah, that's just crucial. So many things. Can we ever really reset relationships with our allies? Or have things been so changed that we can't go back? Give us a call, 949-629-3820. Like I said, that thought kind of scares me. I mean, he's literally the world. Let me put it like this. I could say the world is burning, but I'll be a little nicer. I'll say there's a Trump dumpster fire on every continent in the world. How do you undo the dumpster fires? Well, you put them out, but eventually people can, try to figure a way around it and do it again. We can do it safer. Anyway, let's. You get the point about that, but things are just. The economies are more fragile now, and what? Oh, and I mean, it's depleted our weapons arsenal. I mean, there's just nothing beneficial that came out of this. And you can rest assured that he was advised as to every contingency. I mean, that's what those guys at the Pentagon do. They war game, they game things out, and it's I mean, and how much of an idiot do you have to be to think that the most likely striking point would not be utilized, like closing the Strait of Hormuz? And that was the first thing. That was the first thing they were going to do. I mean, think about this. The guy's just incapable of taking directions. And don't forget, has fired the people who would give the good directions. He's only got the people left who will give him bad directions, and he takes those. Sometimes he just makes a colossally stupid thing on his own. But and let's I hate doing this, but I keep thinking about that girls' school, 175 kids, and when you ask the president about it, he goes, "Well, lots of people use tomahawks." No, that's not true. I think not only is that not true, I think that's kind of like a lie. Okay, like LIE. Well, no, not like George Washington. George Washington was the I cannot tell a lie guy. He could not tell a lie because he did chop down the cherry tree. And old Abe baby, Honest Abe couldn't lie, otherwise he wouldn't be Honest Abe. But it's really easy to get like Don Corleone or something, I gotta tell you, I'm so in utter disbelief that anyone could have pulled the lever for Trump in 2020 or 2024 rather. Knowing what you knew, Kamala told everybody. He comes in with a retribution list. I come in with a to-do list. You guys had a choice between a monster and a more than capable human being, and you guys chose the monster. And I can only suppose you did that because, I mean, I like to think you believed in him, but that doesn't speak very highly to the lack of thought process that got you there. And there's a Latin expression that some car guys used to use on TV. I won't bore you with the Latin. excuse me, but it meant something like unencumbered by the thought process. Like someone who just didn't think and didn't have a brain, and and you like I said, he's you can't confuse with Trump with a complete stupid. He's feral. He pounces out of instinct when it's wild, when he senses a weakness. But he's 79, and guess what? Xi sensed his weakness. Xi took a measure of him in every way possible in those 2 days. Believe me, Trump. Oh, and you know what? Somebody even commented. What was that? Something about Trump looking like he really like he was pleading for something from Xi. But Xi's again. He's out of his league. Just like Witkoff and Kushner, just like everybody he knows is out of the league of top level diplomats, negotiators. They just do not have the skills. Now, of course, apparently the president believed that's either irrelevant or he just doesn't care. I guess it's like ignorance and apathy. Either he doesn't know or he doesn't care. Either one of which ought to be disqualifying for a president. Imagine ignorant or apathetic. And it's not even when he's engaged, it's like like what is it, comic book, give him the pictures, the Reader's Digest abridged version. Why? Because he is unencumbered by the thought process. And I'll diverge for just a second here and tell you there are two basic ways you can make a decision. You can either make it with your heart or with your head, either emotionally or rationally, like say using your brain power. You usually get better results if you analyze it and try to come up with a sound plan. And like I said, the guy's just incapable of any sort of long-term thought or comprehension. I guess that's a better term. Maybe he just can't comprehend the future beyond him. And that's what what do they call him? The former fixer Michael Cohen said. And something else we ought to remember from Cohen is that Trump will burn the whole place down before he goes. Are you getting the feeling that it will either be an autocracy or just almost a third world nation after this? We've lost the research edge with his firings. They were just indiscriminate. I mean, it was like who will ever forget the image of Elon Musk with a chainsaw? I mean, that I can see that appealing to the MAGA people. I can see that appealing to was it WWF, WWE, whatever the wrestling thing is. And it's funny. I'm just starting now to understand how people can get so emotional over something that's fake. And they do that by just like putting their beliefs one side. And that's what people did when they voted for Trump in 2024. They just put whatever inconveniences aside. Now, I do keep going, wanting to ask the question, like, guys, wasn't January 6th enough to disqualify someone from the presidency? Like, you voted for this guy after January 6th? And of course, I've come across the weird old people that are like, oh, it was rigged or it was staged. I'm like, no, I don't think so. I looked at the evidence. And these people are willing to make decisions without looking at the evidence, just emotionally. And I always talk about the judge, the astronomic justice. If the judge gets on the bench at 9:30, and if he had an extraordinarily good breakfast and everything went well, you just want to get your guy off. He feels good. He had a good breakfast. Let's slam him. Now, as opposed to a guy judge that had a breakfast that wasn't nearly as good, and he has to run, not walk, to the little judge's room. I don't think that puts him in a good mood. And if the judge ain't in a good mood, your client probably ain't getting a good deal. You know what I mean? So, so yeah, would you rather have somebody decide, like making the rational decision, or would you rather leave it up to whether his, I don't know, corned beef hash omelet came out, to his liking? I tell you guys, this you just wouldn't believe it. But on the off chance you do believe it, give us a call at 649-629-3820. And let us know what you think. How much was your last fill up? Did you have to take out a second mortgage to go to McDonald's? I mean, we want to know. And the truth of the matter is, in California, everybody knows that In-N-Out is superior in every way. And, if you can do it, you would avoid McDonald's like the plague to eat an In-N-Out. And years ago, everybody's got bumper stickers, and theirs said like In-N-Out Burger, and it had the name and a little picture and all that little image. But inevitably, somebody would remove some of the letters in the In-N-Out Burger, and the remaining message was like the In-N-Out Urge. Which, as a guy, that's what's funny is somebody saying he needs a big ballroom. I mean, I said, if you need ballroom, buy a bigger set of underwear. I don't, it ain't costing $1 billion for your ballroom, pal. And another thing, the statue of Trump, while he's alive, this is just, he's gone off the deep end. Oh, well, actually, I think he left unhinged behind a long time ago. I think he's been full blown bat poop crazy for, a couple of years now. But it's gonna be like the Russians. Those guys complained about Biden's health and this, that, and the other. But the day they admit that Trump has a cold, that's code for he's been dead for 2 weeks. And that's how you can pretty much count on these guys working. They do, and they just can't, I guess when everything you do is dirty, you have to be deceptive. It's hard to believe people were born like that, but at this point, I certainly wouldn't put it past anybody. Okay. So, and how about this? As part of the Iran deal, he weakened any ties between us and our allies. I mean, what about Japan? What about the EU? What about Canada? Does anybody like us, or is there a dumpster fire in each one of those places? He has made a dumpster fire out of each and every one of our former allies. And you know why he did it? Because he's too stupid to only realize he has one approach. He tries to bully people and get them to submit outright. And, that goes against a lot of people's constitution. Just because you want to do that, just because that's worked in the past, does not mean it's going to work every time. Otherwise, the person that wanted a lotto ticket would buy the same lotto ticket every time. It just doesn't work that way. So, and it's not like anybody's constraining him. Like I said, the only thing really to be done in the short term is let's take control of the House and Senate in the midterms. Send him a message. Just make his life miserable for the last 2 years, and I don't know if it's too late to just minimize the damage of the boats, taking on that much water. What I'm afraid is after all this, after the debt gets recalculated, I'm just concerned it's going to be, significantly worse in every way, and Trump is going to skip away with his money, fat, dumb, and happy. And the Republicans let it happen. Okay, with that in mind, oh, how about this? How about the Supreme Court's getting of the Voting Rights Act? Now, the ostensible reason for getting rid of it was that special treatment has to end at some point, and we, the Supreme Court, are going to end it now, regardless whether there's any evidence or not. Evidence of racism, I mean. And so they say this on what, Friday, Monday, whatever day it was. Within hours, southern states are moving to redistrict, and guess what? Eliminate majority black districts. So black Americans will never have a black representative. And they do this just, out in front of everybody. It's like, guys, we can screw you, and we are. Again, how that's an effective long-term strategy, I will never know. And I'm pretty sure that in the long term, it will get seen for what it is. But that still requires getting past the short term. And, you just, they're just liars and cheats. You've got to, you got to fight them with whatever weapon they use. They use fire, we'll use fire, we'll use water, we'll use sand, but that's just some of the ramification of the Supreme Court's decision. And like I said, isn't the fact that the state governments moved to redraw districts within minutes of the Supreme Court decision, doesn't that mean that there actually is racism and the Supreme Court's decision was wrong? I'm pretty sure I got the better argument on that one. There was just no way the administration made a cogent enough argument for a 6-3 decision. Yeah, I don't know about you guys, but I'm from the South, and I mean, I could not only was slavery bad, but it was 150 years out, or 150 years after that, the Jim Crow stuff. I mean, you had cities where black people were afraid to go out at night. They were citizens and could vote. They were afraid of being lynched by their neighbors. And there's more of that. Just it's not like it, it's not like it ended. There's still weird stuff going on in those really remote parishes, and and it could be the South, it could be the West too. You get kind of far off the grid, and God only knows what goes on. But I just don't. The level of wanton destruction and cruelty, I don't. It's like the reporters say, the cruelty must be the point. I mean, they surely make a big deal to do it. And doesn't that did Jesus actually teach that? Did they mention that at the prayer breakfast? Thou shalt be cruel. That didn't come up at the prayer breakfast. Huh. Wonder what Trump's doing with it. Yeah. He's I tell you Trump's problem. He's spending too much time studying the Bible with Hegseth and and whoever else. That's his problem. Let's see here. Yeah, so the Supreme Court is basically, it's not our fight. You're a state. You have certain police powers within your borders, and if you want to redistrict it in a way that's unfair, go ahead. It's your state. Do what you want. I can't. I mean, anybody can see the short-sightedness in that. But when they start redistricting that same day, you've got to think that that there is racism, despite what the Supreme Court says or wants to believe. Those guys. There was a time when they were respected for being legal scholars and wise people, but you get the Federalist Society and Leo, what's his name, And you have just like a pipeline of young conservative activist judges whom they want to get in the federal court system because they know they will propagate their views for like 40 years. If they get somebody who's on the bench that's 30 or 40, they could be good for 70. You know what I mean? Uh, yeah, those guys, those judges, federal judges serve. I think the term is like good behavior or something, but I think that's been construed to mean like a lifetime appointment. So those federal judges are really influential, particularly the ones at the trial court level. I mean, those guys, everything filters through them, obviously because they're the trial court. Uh, they're just, I understand playing for keeps. I also understand, it's the difference between winning and shaking the loser's hand and winning and, kicking him in the nuts or rubbing his nose off in the street like an eraser. It's just abject humiliation that only the person they're humiliating enjoys. And just as a broad, general negotiating position, if you're doing something somebody doesn't like, you might want to quit doing it just a little bit and see if you get, a little more favorable response. Yeah, me, I hate to advocate those rash positions, but my God. Oh, this is a really nice one too. 1.5 trillion reasons to not trust Pete Hegseth's military budget. Let's see here. $1.5 trillion. Or 1.5 trillion reasons. Okay. Well, then it seems like there are $1.5 billion being spent and $1.5 trillion, that's being questionable. Then it seems like everything's being questionable. And, Hegseth's another one. It's not like he's got a great track record for telling the truth. And you notice how I mentioned track record? Looking back on past behavior to see how the present behavior conforms to it. Okay? I don't think Hegseth has had a change in style or temperament or anything. Matter of fact, I'm pretty sure of course, there's no way of knowing from my end. But would anybody really be surprised if he and Cash met up for drinky winkies at the local, I don't know, Ruby Tuesdays or whatever on happy hour on Fridays to try and hit on women? Wasn't that the point of the Saturday Night Live skit? But you know what? The Saturday Night Live skit went even further because even after Hegseth and Keystone Cash are at the bar, they look up and guess who joined them for an adult beverage? I know you could not be over with a feather. It was Justice Brett Kavanaugh. So on some level, they were being made fun of because they drink. And if I'm not mistaken, didn't Hegseth promise to quit drinking or something? And it's not like you get the weekly urine test or anything. I know. Yeah, I would wager that it's more likely than not that alcohol has seen that guy's lips in the not too distant past, like maybe yesterday. I mean, who else fires the Secretary of the Navy during a war? And he's done this with generals and all that. We're at a war. Why are you firing our best people? Do you want us to lose? Huh, Pete? Is that the real deal? Do you want us to lose so that we get a bigger budget? People, you don't really care about the people, do you, Pete? Nah, you just kind of want that old paycheck and that little bit of power that comes from your buddy. And all I can tell you is the truth shall set you free, and the truth will come out. Anyway, oh gosh, sorry, that was a little kind of pull my headphones out for a second. And when I pull the headphone out, that means I don't hear. And so that means I might have made a mistake with the old uh, microphone, but I don't do that too much anymore. Okay. Ooh. We know about Thomas Massey in Kentucky. This was silence that meets the rape of Palestinians. Guys, nobody likes seeing people just slaughtered. Nobody. October 7th, and I know you guys have been abused by Israelis and settlers. I know all that. But to have committed the thing, have acted like he did on October 7th, to show just, this wasn't just about lying and killing. They were so depraved that I mean, I don't even want to go into men, women, and children, what they did. I said it was just unforgivable, and you brought this on yourselves, and actually Hamas brought it on you, and I know you're having a hard time getting rid of the gangs, but maybe if you ask for some help, you might get it. Maybe if you express some desire at having a free and open society, maybe you would get help. Might not probably want to offer in the United States, not now, but there were clearly opportunities to reach out and disavow, and to at least make the public case for being able to live in close proximity in peace. I think if you had an agreement between both sides, I think it would actually be honored like that. But again, the facts on the ground have changed. I don't know how long it's going to take for Gaza to get cleaned up and to be habitable again. I don't know what kind of radioactive stuff is in those munitions. I'm sure they had. I'm sure they were lethal in more than one way. I mean, nobody wants to see that kind of injustice, and it's the truth of it is people have been displaced from time immemorial. History's just kind of treated Palestinians as its little pond to be a thorn in Israel's side, and all that was well and good in the beginning. But then you get the suicide bombers and the asymmetrical warfare that puts the fear of God in every Israeli, because you're killing, raping, and murdering people that not too long ago had 6 million people killed or raped, or it's like there's a old Chinese woman who comes to the gym. She's an engineering professor, and she always tells me about Chinese discrimination against Chinese Americans. I'm like, discrimination against Chinese Americans? What are you talking about? We had slavery. Get in line, pal. That's not discrimination. How about being more Jewish in the South? That's discrimination. I mean, trust me, what you went through ain't discrimination. And even if it is, I'm going to quote Sarah Palin to you and my mother to you. Suck it up, Buttercup. Sorry, but I do think she kind of deserves that. Okay, let's see here. Massey. And then it ends with Trump China policy is weak in America. Then it goes into the ways it's weak in America. The tariff policy failed. He's going to use that to level the playing field that China had been taking advantage of the U.S. So he's going to apply tariffs. Well, that didn't work out, and we're kind of behind the 8 ball on that. Oh, and how about this? China's has been restricting access to rare earth materials, and when they do sell it, you have to guarantee it won't be used for X, Y, and Z. And if they found out it is, you just don't get any more. Uh, so are we better off? Doesn't sound like it. Oh, how about this? How about Taiwan? Are we looking stronger or weaker? Are we looking stronger like we've got your back no matter what, the Chinese will never take your independence? Or have we become, well, I know we got this 14 billion arms sale, but I kind of need something from China, and she really, he really deserves Taiwan. It's in his backyard. Let's just give it to him. I mean, you can see it happening, right? Does that make us look better? Absolutely, positively not. Like I said earlier, whoever gets Taiwan gets the microchip manufacturing capability, and whoever gets that, game, set, and match. It's tariff policy. Okay. And let's this. There were soft instruments of American power, like our allies and like Japan, or how about Australia, India, European Union, Canada? Can we ask any of those guys for help or for a favor after the way Trump just peed on them or pooped on them or both? Yeah, I don't think they're going to come running to our rescue anymore, guys. Things have changed for the worse, and Trump caused the changes for the worse. I mean, it's there in black and white. He'll stand up and pontificate against it, but his past behavior suggests he is a compulsive liar. And so he is a compulsive liar. There is a compulsive reason to not believe them. Okay? I don't want to beat that to death too much because I assume you've got it. And can I tell you the last way that we're weaker? Oh, thanks. We're finally weaker in the research department, just like the negotiators, the top level negotiators that were fired. How about the top level cancer researchers or Parkinson's? Also, I mean, breast cancer researchers. Where are they? Well, they ain't employed by the U.S. anymore. We don't even know if they're still here. And does that make us better? I don't think so. Again, I'd be curious. Give us a call, 949-629-3820. But I would have to say that after looking at this and all things considered, Trump has screwed America. There's just no other conclusion. And I had come to that conclusion before because my thought was that Trump just doesn't want retribution against, 50 people, 100 people, 1,000 people. He wants retribution against the country of the United States, against the country itself, which means against each and every one of the 340 million citizens here. He's sick and depraved, and not only that, there's the natural aging process and hardening the arteries in the old brain, and it's not like he was dedicated to health food. I would think that if you ate all the junk food you wanted, and don't exercise, that should have a negative impact on your lifespan, starting like maybe now. Oh, but you know what? Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's all that gooey cheese kind of clogged up the pores in his brain. He couldn't think. And maybe one cerebral arteriosclerosis. Maybe it's just like McDonald's cheeseburger arteriosclerosis. Yeah, guys, we are approaching the 1 o'clock hour. We've done the first hour of what's usually my limit of 2 hours when my throat goes. We're starting to go a little early today, but we'll do our best to tough it out until 2. Okay. And now for the second hour, let's end this the way we usually do and say hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and all the ships at sea, and invite you guys to give us a call, 949-629-3820. and let us know what is. I said, do you have to take out a second mortgage to go to fast food? What are you? I don't know. Are you taking the bus to work instead of driving? I can tell you that's actually kind of a good thing to do. I don't. I mean, I advocate that as much as possible. I don't. People always don't believe me, but whenever I need to go like to Cal State Long Beach or something, I would take the bus. It costs me $1.50, 75 cents each way from Newport. It's about, I don't know, 10 or 12 miles. Excuse me. This would be like a gallon of gas each way. So that's like 6.50 gallons, $13. And I think parking is like 15. So yeah, I can either take my car for $15 and spend another 15 to park, $30, or I can do it for $1.50 and somebody else drives. So I mean, it's not a perfect answer, but it's a viable one, and clearly it works when gasoline is prohibitively expensive and you have to get to work. And sometimes you just got to park your car and take your kid's e-bike. Yeah, that's what you ought to do. Just park your car and take your kid's e-bike. And how about holding the parents of the child responsible when there's damage caused from a child on an e-bike? Aren't there like a dad and a mom in separate cases being held for, I don't know if it was murder, manslaughter, or something, because the son on the e-bike killed somebody, was doing wheelies and hit somebody? And there was this other couple with a guy that I think the father modifies the e-bike to do like 50 miles an hour instead of 28 that's supposed to be governed to. Uh, and what makes matters worse is they were all warned about it. And I mean, you can just see it on their faces. Well, it's my kid, nothing's going to happen. And, get away from me. It's America. I can do what I want. And then the child kills somebody completely by accident. But, you got a person dead. And at that point, you kick into the rules of society. What happens when somebody, takes the life of another? And, you get into the various civil and criminal proceedings. But you can see again that significantly changes things when it didn't have to be. I mean, I had a kid ride an e-bike into me, and he hadn't been looking at his text or his phone. I mean, just rode into like where I was turning right, and he just rode into my front tire. I mean, I'm like in the intersection making my turn. Um, and the guy tried to say, "Well, you hit me." I'm like, "No, if I hit you, you'd be on the front of my car. If you hit me on the side of the car, that means you hit me." Uh, and I do think the argument won the day. My insurance company told me that they tried contacting these people several times and never got back, so they were just going to uh, close out the file or whatever they do. So, yeah, that's an interesting little legal turn. And, I don't know about you guys, but at least out here in Southern California, those e-bikes are just, they really are accidents waiting to happen for lots of reasons. And my big one is that even at 28 miles an hour, they approach pretty quickly, a lot quicker than you would expect a regular bicycle to. And all you see is like the bicycle, you don't know. And then when you realize how fast they're closing, closing the distance, you're like, geez. Guys, so hang on just a second. We're going to plug us in because I don't want to run out of juice here. Oh, thanks, guys. I said didn't want to use all the juice from my laptop battery, so we just plug the old charger in. And you know something else while we're talking? You know, my secret broadcasting location on Newport Harbor, Newport Beach, California, isn't always available, if you can believe that. Sometimes it gets overrun by this horde of invading aliens that look like Bigfoot, and they all want to talk about near-death experiences. And when that happens, of course, I can't use it. So Plan B had been broadcasting outside, and I kind of like that. But anyway, the reason I bring all that up is, what if I needed to be powered for now when I say powered, what if I needed my laptop, the interface, the mix, whatever it is, what if I needed all that powered? What sort of battery would I need to do that would guarantee me at least 4 hours, and that would be a quick charge? And ladies and gentlemen, I'm proud to show you I have the answer. Can you see this? Move my hands out of the way. I hope I have that right. But anyway, this thing, whatever it is, came from Charge, Sharge. And as you can see, there are two USBs, the small ones and one big one. And this thing charges at a speed of up to 65 watts. And I know that because it's got a digital readout, and I have a 65-watt charger now. But so I can go for 2 to 3 hours on that, and it might be down 30%, and then it'll recharge in 30 minutes with a high-speed cable that comes with it. And that came from a company called Charge, Sharge. And I don't even remember how I found it, but if you go to the factory site, periodically they have half price sales. And so I bought that for like $100. And I know I can do my shows safely from anywhere and not run out of power. I say it's funny. Wi-Fi is much easier to find than power. Everybody's got Wi-Fi, but nobody's exactly got power. So by taking care of that, I am truly portable. And if I was a real smart guy, I would see about one of those like small plane headsets that are like small light and have the microphone integrated. But that's for another day. So at this point, I'm gonna have to answer the call of nature shortly. And you know what? Let's double check this. We want to make sure that old battery is charging. Okay. And let's take a look at the Financial Times just to see what the view from Europe is. Oh, and what could this be at the headline? Trump forces Taiwan arms decision. There are now doubts, like I mentioned, about the $14 billion sale to Taiwan. Okay, does that give you an idea? If that's on the front page of the New York Times and the Financial Times, does that give you an idea how big an issue this is? It should. I mean, I'd like to think you guys get it. But if something's on the front page of the New York Times and the Financial Times, the one thing I can guarantee you is that it ain't a coincidence. It's that big of a deal that it warranted being on the front page of the New York Times and the Financial Times. And this was about Trump and the arms sale to Taiwan. At this point, America's word is not as good as its bond. It was, guys, I just don't know how anybody can say that Trump alone hasn't been responsible for these massive changes. Through bullying, intimidation, lying, cheating, stealing, whatever it is. And in that regard, the guy's just hell bent on winning. He just, it's so bad he cannot admit he lost. And again, I think that's a clear mental disease or defect that is disqualifying from the presidency. But hey, what do I know? Actually, what I'm finding out is I can't believe how low the bar actually is to be the most powerful man in the world. And it's always a shame when the stupidest man in the world and the guy with the nuclear codes are the same person. I mean, you got to be a little worried, which is why I did the Jeff Beck going down thing. Going down. I didn't check the stock market today. I'll do that real quick here. But there's no telling. Absolutely no telling. Dow was up a little bit, Nas was down. And why? And there's an old saying about the market's not acting rationally. And the next thing you learn is that the market can be irrational longer than you can stay liquid. So you can't, sometimes facts overtake, sometimes emotion overtakes reason. And that's what makes these frothy markets so dangerous. There's, and what is propping it up is AI. And if we lose that, and if we keep giving indications of losing that battle, I don't know what happens. I don't. We clearly aren't going to make any great advances under Trump. And I don't know if he resents having scientists that are smarter than he is, or having military people that are smarter than he is. I mean, I can't imagine what rumbles through that cheeseburger-addled brain of his. Okay, so anyway, Trump, Taiwan, TT, you guys, everything you buy will depend on this. Will your phones and laptops go through the roof? Well, you can rest assured that if anything happens to Taiwan, it ain't gonna be good for us. And like I say, I think we're pretty much on schedule for that. Oh, and there was a thing with the CIA director going to Cuba. Well, why did he go to Cuba? Was he, looking at the cool old cars? Was he that aren't driving without any gas? Did he go to have a little, Don whatever it is on the beach? No. He came as a representative of the United States to demand change. And it's like these guys never heard you can catch more flies with honey than vinegar. They have this one intimidating, humiliating approach, and it blows up in their faces every time, and they double down on it. And when they double down on it, the regular American is just screwed. I mean, does anybody really think they can go back to $4 gasoline? I mean, I'm in California. I would love for $5. I would love for my gas to be $5.50 a gallon. $5 would be a dream. But with the present set of actors, you would have to conclude that the evidence says it ain't likely to happen. So, it's a little hard to be super upbeat when you read all this, but like I said, that's why I'm asking you guys to give us a call, 949-629-3820, and tell us what you think about this. Am I wrong? I mean, it could be, but yeah. Oh, and then I love this one. The third headline on the Financial Times front page. Botox demand fails to sag. Only a British newspaper would do that. Botox demand fails to sag as squeezed consumers prioritize skin treatments. Now, that seemed a little wordy, but it seemed to me so. The Reader's Digest abbreviated version or abridged version should be something like people still geek out to look good. Vanity's in, perfect shape. Yeah, how about that? Vanity's in perfect shape. And I didn't know Botox was like a measure of the economy. Apparently it is. Apparently the more people that use Botox, the happier or better. I don't, I don't really know how to do that, but you see, I'm like the least religious person you'll ever meet. But I don't know, and I'm not gonna get into this. Well, God intended us to be this way. Well, I think that's a little academic. I think the more accurate statement is that genetics got us to be this way. And as a corollary to that, the genetics conquers all. Uh, so yeah, next time somebody says anything like God intended us, and no, I think it's more like genetics. And I shouldn't tell this, but I can't help myself. That's like when people at the National Breakfast call for like the second coming of Jesus. And I'm like, did dude that good of a job the first time? I mean, I don't, doesn't seem like things went particularly well. And you can kind of argue that they ain't particularly good right now. And this is more or less 2020 something years later. So might want to reconsider that too. Oh, and okay, so Botox. And this is where how numb the world's gotten to criminals. And I alluded to this earlier, but let's see. Well, Irish underworld figure runs for former finance minister's seat. Um, I mean, I can't make this stuff up. But you can't really be surprised. A finance seat. I mean, that's when they asked Jesse James why he robbed the bank, he said, "Well, that's where the money is." And I guess this old Irish hooligan kind of knew that's where the money is, so he's going to run for finance minister. This is just an abnormal world or an abnormal time in it. And like I said, the only way to get rid of the abnormality is under our system is to vote them out. We've got to overcome the cheating. And, I would like to think that there are enough new people in the South that they don't appreciate having their neighbors being treated like second-class citizens, even though every native-born white Southerner kind of may well have that feeling. It's really offensive to newcomers, and I mean it's just bad and wrong in the first place. But yeah, the mafia guy running for mafia guy running the bank. I mean, and what I really want to know, and if somebody's got an idea on this, please let me know. Give me a call at 949-629-3820, or feel free to send us an email. But I said, what? How does this happen? Is there nobody else to run? But the crux is everything. Does everybody else need a job so badly that they can't afford to take a chance on being elected to public service? Well, the guy's just laughable. And here it is. I wanted to bring this up too for a second. I'm just going to blow by this. Western parts are found in a Russian missile. Geez, guys, how'd they get there? Somebody bought and smuggled them? Somebody steal them and smuggle them? Huh? I mean, there's some money to be had here. Let us know. Okay. So how about this? Trump left with little to show for 2 days talks with the Chinese president. And here's the quote I wanted to find. Trump looked like he was pleading, needing something from Xi with all the unrequited praise. So, and again, Trump's an idiot. He has no knowledge to trade on. So he just hopes to butter people up and hope for the best. And if he thinks that Xi doesn't know exactly what he's doing. Not only does Xi knows what he's doing, Xi knows what Trump did. He knows what he's doing, and he's able to make a pretty good prediction about what Trump will do. And he's got the soft power now to make Trump eat it. And what does that mean? That means to make every American eat it too. Um, I mean, China's been the brunt of the world's jokes for a while now. Are they going to have their revenge? What, does every dog have its day? Well, you would have to think so. You would have to think that at some time, I mean, the tides change twice a day, more or less, and there's always always talk about that political pendulum swinging back and forth. Uh, I'm just afraid it's gonna swing one way and just fly and break everything in sight. And again, when you look at the political people involved, you cannot be particularly shocked to hear that. So, and let's see here. Oh, and the hits just keep coming. Trump says China's going to order 200 Boeing jets. And investors look at it and go, China ain't buying 200 Boeing jets. And so the stock drops. But you see how just the mere fact how he's able to influence certain stocks. Ordinarily, if he said something like China buys 200 Boeings or places 200 orders, usually you bet the stock would go up and everybody would make a nice little piece of change. But you got somebody in there that has no credibility. And we went on the other week about credibility, and I won't dwell on it other than to mention, credibility is worthy of being believed. And that's its Latin root. To be worthy of being believed is to be credible. Okay, let me ask you this: is Pete Hegseth? What's the word? Oh, is Pete Hegseth credible? Who is credible in the Trump administration? I'm going to tell you, every official I've seen has lied. There's just no one capable of telling the truth. We all know Trump doesn't particularly like the truth because the truth isn't particularly flattering to his cause. But credibility is just so huge. I don't care if you're a city council. And, it might be more crucial the lower the office. I mean, on city council elections, that's really how people earn their bona fides in politics. It's as grassroots level as you get, representing your neighbor, and hopefully from there people will have had a good experience and want to move on and contribute more politically. But in the meantime, you have to. And it's no different than your kids, if you have kids, or dealing with anybody at work. Are they credible? Can I believe them? And I'm sure deep down you know the answer. And I'm sure deep down you don't want to admit the answer. But that's my observation. And what I think is that, when Trump asks for personal loyalty, that implies that you are not giving citizen loyalty, in our constitutional loyalty. And, that's, you get back into the whole King of England thing. And that's not, that's one of the reasons they left England. But then you have people distorting that image by saying that that America is a Christian nation. And I mean, that's just not only just not true, but you can subjectively prove or objectively prove it. I mean, it was religious freedom the whole way. I just, and and this is an old World War II Nazi propaganda tactic. And if you just repeat things over and over, eventually people accept it. You just wear them down day by day, same message, and it's true because how many times is a song played on the radio and then you'll hum it, or you'll think about like the last song that was in your ear. Okay, so you see what I mean. Okay, now and uh, and if we're talking about music and all that, well, since he closed the Trump Kennedy Center, apparently there won't be any music coming out of that place for a while. But and another thing, does anybody know where this where the Trump gold statue is going to be? Now you know what I didn't. I keep telling you guys that I'm not exactly a biblical scholar. Yeah, I kind of think religion might be kind of fictionalized. uh, oh, excuse me, but if anybody notices anything like Christian like going on coming out of DC, please let me know. Like it's highly doubtful, unless it might be highly doubtful, but it also just might be politically convenient. And it doesn't now see that's the kind of intelligence I think he has. That kind of feral wildness, knowing when to pounce. Yeah. But let's while we're kind of ragging on the president because he is taking us down. I mean, like I said, there's a dumpster fire in every part of the world. People hate us. Everything he said was a lie. Europe never laughed at us. Europe always considered us a decent, strong leader. Not so much anymore. And we know why. We know exactly why we haven't been. I mean, we know we've been lied to continually. We know that Caroline Leavitt is a thinly disguised propaganda minister. I mean, to lie with this kind of impunity is just stunning because DC is. I don't know if you guys have ever been to Washington, but I lived there for a couple of years. And get to live on Capitol Hill, ran corner from the Supreme Court, and I say on Capitol Hill. And it's a different place. People there are, number one, of course, they're from all over, but number two, people are really bright. I mean, that's a power center. I mean, it draws people who want power. And they are bright and they are dedicated and they'll work hard as hell to get it. And in that sort of environment, you can clearly waltz in with, oh, I know more than everybody else, but you really find out quickly that the guy next to you on the subway, might just be some big time justice attorney. I mean, you just never know in DC. And Trump's not. He doesn't put himself in inferior positions. Other people have to do that, which is the only way you beat him. Otherwise, he just keeps the intimidation and the humiliation going. And people don't like that, so they generally yield and bend. Just out of curiosity, I'd like to hear if anybody has been to Washington, and if so, what was your favorite thing? Did you? Everybody kind of goes to the Air and Space Museum, the Hope Diamond, and the Natural History Museum, the Hirshhorn, and the Sculpture Gallery, and the Portrait Gallery, and the National Gallery. I mean, and I don't know if it's still like this, but DC used to make a real effort to make things accessible to students. I mean, at every Kennedy performance, no matter who, there were certain number of tickets set aside for students, and I mean, I think I went there. It was like $3 or something to the Kennedy Center. Um, and in case anybody doesn't know, the Kennedy Center is like within a block or so of the Watergate Hotel. And that whole area is called Foggy Bottom, and that's where a lot of the State Department stuff goes on. Uh, I said DC is a very cool place. Georgetown, Georgetown is the ultimate in soft power. My God, that school in that area. I mean, you might get at Georgetown, you could get like an undersecretary or whatever it is teaching a night class because he likes to, because he wants to impart his knowledge. Uh, you just don't jump in a place like DC. And, I say if Trump hadn't been kind of roughed up a little bit his first term, he wouldn't be this aggressive his second term. And deep down, he knows people are after him. He just assumes that he can win. And, I say based on his track record, it's arguable. He clearly won the dollars and cents prize. I mean, $1 billion is huge, much less increasing it to $4 billion in a year with being in office. But generally, the billion is, that's a lot of money. The billion is a lot of anything. And when you have that kind of wealth, nobody tells you no. As a matter of fact, when you have that kind of wealth, you may run into people like Jeffrey Epstein who want to maybe compromise you a little bit. What can we all, geez, you've got a lot of money. What would you like? What would you like? What can I give you? How about a 12-year-old girl? Well, I don't know about that, but we do know that there were, 16-year-old girls and probably younger involved in this. And I cannot imagine how much money it took to keep Epstein's plane in the air, to keep all the properties going. I say his brownstone in New York must have, would take a fortune to maintain. But there was that. There's the place in New Mexico, the place in the Bahamas. And I'm going to talk about this little thing in New Mexico. I don't know exactly where it was, but New Mexico has, a few major cities, but a cajillion little hamlets and small towns and villages. And it's really easy to be, a few miles away and just be in complete isolation. And I guarantee you that the New Mexico place is pretty much in isolation. And I cannot imagine what the search of the grounds would show. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if some of the girls were killed there or bodies dumped. I mean, what would surprise you for these guys? And the answer is absolutely nothing. So yeah, they orgies and or even if they were just intimate get-togethers. How about that? Maybe they weren't orgies. Maybe they were just intimate get-togethers. And I hadn't even talked about the European allies he had, the Parisian modeling agency owner, or the fashion guy in Milan, and I mean, and it was a pretty pretty gutsy enterprise. I just it's one of those things that's just diabolical. To prey on a 16-year-old girl whose mother needs whatever it is, and here's $25,000 to help. What's the girl to do? Yeah, not much. And once you sell yourself, it's you make it that much harder to come back. And I'm certainly not criticizing. I'm only criticizing the men, and I'm only feeling heartache for the women. It's such a different perspective. Guys are so gung ho to have sex with a woman, and I mean it is great fun and all that. But the woman may not feel that same way, and if it's an unfair or forced situation, she's probably not going to feel that way. And when that victim, Virginia Giffey, committed suicide in Australia, I mean, guys, haven't we played around this long enough? You I hate to say this, but in some ways, the American public really sucks. I mean, why haven't we found out about this? Why don't we know about Trump's original tax returns that he promised to release? Why don't we know? I said, why don't we know what's in the Epstein files? Well, we may know some, but you can rest assured we don't know all. And the reason we don't know all is Trump was, and will be a deceptive human being based upon his track record. Uh, I mean, he's just like a typical real estate developer that, will buy a place and, put new paint on it, new carpet, and tell you it was remodeled from the studs out or studs down or whatever it is. You can't. You just can't trust him. You can't believe him. And which is why, so many of my chats and questions have to do with assessing credibility. Don't There's no way to understate the importance of that. Okay. And guys, I'm going to ask you to hold on just a second here. I am going to go like, you know what? We can do it this way. I am actually going to go answer the call of nature. How about be right back? Nature calls. How about that? Sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen. So, guys, it took a few minutes longer than I expected, but you know, when you gotta go, there's not much to be done. Hey, you know what? It's like Monday afternoon, and after my rant, how about we get a little Randy Newman? We'll play it out with a little Randy Newman, and then we'll get it. How about this? Heaven knows we try. And see what happens. And polarize them. Crowded. Canada's cold. Africa's too hot and Canada's far too cold. South America stole our name. Let's drop the big one. Oh, there'll be no one left to blame. Let's save Australia. Don't want to hurt no kangaroo. Building an ordinary amusement park. They got surfing too. Boom goes London, boom Paris. More for you and more room for me. And our world round will just be another American town. Oh, we can be body free. You'll be Japanese kimono, baby, Italian shoes for me. I'll try this anyhow. So let's drop the big one now. Let's drop the big one now. You guys, if I had any sense, I would have saved and played this out on a little Randy Newman. We'll see if we can't make that happen a little bit. But yeah, I don't know what made me want to do that. But and, you know, since I'm on like a little musical roll here, how about we throw a little squeeze in to kind of lighten the mood from all the heavy stuff we've been talking about. This is In Quintessence. East Side Story, Squeeze. In Quintessence. Sorry about that. In Quintessence. In Quintessence. Oh, Glenn Tolbert plays. All right, guys, we had a little musical uplifting time. I want to take the last few minutes and remind everybody in California that if you haven't voted, please do. You can do it early. And I think today's the first day of the Chickatoni ballot in. So let's please do it. If you're anywhere near Orange County, Newport Beach, drop by, say hello, give us a call, 949-629-3820. And like I said, we'd love to know what's going on in your world. Every day I talk to people, and some people gasoline could hit $1,000 a gallon, it wouldn't matter. And other people I meet that they don't have $100 to save at the end of the month. This is the first time that I can recall in that we haven't had a president who is willing to stand up and say the buck stops here. Now, is Trump the buck stops here kind of guy, or is he going to try to pass the buck to somebody else, pass the fault to somebody else, and not take responsibility? And for those of you that have kids, isn't responsibility and how people deal with it a key measure of almost everything, like integrity? It's just shocking to me that just someone that's been a convicted criminal can be thought of as being president after January 6th. I don't know what it's funny. You could think he has some sort of Teflon superpower, but like everything else, all good things come to an end. And this clearly hasn't been good for the American public, but it's been outrageously good for Trump and his buddies. I mean, in a whole lot of jobs, we can make like $3 billion a year, right? Or you know what? Maybe I rephrase that. Maybe there aren't a whole lot of jobs where you can embezzle or steal $3 billion a year. Maybe you can make it with a big time hedge fund and a gajillion dollars in capital and margin. But don't forget, you don't want to get into a long term capital thing and have to unwind those bad transactions. Sometimes those hedge funds get so much leverage that they can actually affect the economy of a country. And that's, for you guys who don't remember, that's what happened with long-term capital. I think they were like in Boston or something, and they had these massive bets, and they went wrong, and they were leveraged like 30-1 or something. And the government had to bail them out, or else, there was a chance the economy would go down too. So, again, we had a choice. Do we bail them out or make the world suffer? And the choice was, well, we can't inflict that sort of suffering on people. So we have to bail them out. Nobody's really crazy about that, but, sometimes you really are in uncharted territory. And we haven't had, a boatload of financial calamities like other nations. Excuse me. I mean, we had the Depression, we've had inflation, recession, wars. But until now, we haven't had criminals infiltrate and infect the government. And that's, if anybody thinks these guys are not criminals, then you've clearly been brainwashed. Hang on, let's see. Hang on, guys. You know what? I can't do that now. This is. There we go. I thought that was kind of important, and so I apologize to you guys. I was just curious to take a look. I'm like, oh no, I'm almost through with the broadcast. Let me finish this. I'll return the call. So that's when we put the no ring thing on. Is that not a great thing? You can turn the ringer off if you don't want any noise. Okay, so let's see, where were we? we were wrapping up about criminals infiltrating the government and financial catastrophes. And I mean, you can see Trump ain't done yet. They're still and they're still reflecting pool issues. Yeah, I mean, he gave the job, started out as $1 million contract to the guy who did his pools. And before we know it, it's all over. It's a $13 million no bid contract to the guy that does his pools. Um, and let's assume, for the sake of argument, that's a perfectly legitimate business practice. Okay. And what does it really say? It says that you shovel other people's money to your friends. That's exactly what it says. It's not like you put it out for bid and let people kind of have an equal shot at it. But see, that's the deal. Trump has never been about equality or fairness. Never. He's only been for one thing and one person. And I even think that one person takes priority over the rest of his family. I know everybody's shocked, but especially after going over these the Sunday newspapers from London and New York. But tomorrow is Tuesday, and tomorrow just might be Taco Tuesday, depending on what time we get through. And as you may or may not know, that's like every California's toughest decision to make is on Tuesday where to go for tacos. I think my taco places, if I want shrimp tacos, I go to La Lomita in Costa Mesa on 19th and Placentia in a little strip center called the Vista Center. It's where the Wayfarer is. Any young music types, I'm sure everybody knows the Wayfarer. And then the other place I kind of like is Taco Mesa, also on 19th Street, but further up, kind of across from the DMV. And like everything around, that's all a little sketchy. My favorite Indian place is a block or so from there. So I said they're all really sketchy, but as a general proposition, the food's really good and really reasonable. I say I go to the Indie Cafe as much as I can, and usually I get the lentil soup just to aid a little chest congestion. And I mean, it's always great. Last night I had a little garlic naan with it, and it was excellent. God, those guys are good. Kim is the waiter, Shri is the female wait person, and Indie Cafe on 19th Street. Trust me, you'll like it. They have a little Talis, I think it's called. It's like a little sampler lunch and dinner thing. It's maybe like $10 or $12, but it's the kind of thing you have to really work hard to finish. And I've never gone to like a run of the mill Indian restaurant or Mexican restaurant or anything where the owners didn't want to make sure they fed you well. And these places clearly do. I missed lasagna night last night at Pizza de Oro. I always give a shout out to those guys. Even though they have daily specials, tonight's lasagna too, so maybe I'll get a chance. Let's see. Oh, and I always call out the women, Anna from Sprouts in the deli section. She makes the best veggie sandwiches for the low price of $4.99. And guys, like I see, we're getting kind of close to 2-ish, and my voice is starting to go. So I'm going to go ahead and get ready to sign off for the day. And you know what we always say around here? You know what the dog says?